We made this.
Hello and welcome to Life's Milestones, the podcast about life's milestones here on the We Made This podcast network. Every fortnight I speak to a different guest about the milestones in their life. Birth, relationships and death. Or alternatively, naming ceremonies, weddings and funerals. My name's Mark Adams and I am a Humanist Celebrant. That means that I am accredited and insured by Humanists UK to deliver non-religious ceremonies, that's all three, namings, weddings and funerals, for anybody and everybody. This is my podcast and this episode's guest is someone who I would describe as one of life's most unforgettable and positive people. I met Steve Valentino probably about 8 years ago now, and he made an immediate impact. Road trips with Steve, well, road trips for wrestling were always fun, but Steve was one of a kind, and we bonded immediately, but then ended up drifting apart in different circles. But Steve was one of those Facebook friends that you would always notice their stuff, and their stuff always made you smile. So even though perhaps we weren't the closest buddies and we didn't message so often, I was still noticing Steve's stuff all the time, despite the fact we weren't, I guess, close. But lockdown has made me think about friendships and relationships with different people. And this podcast, to some extent, has always done the same. So I was like, right, I'm going to get in touch with Steve. He'd be a great guest. And he basically bit my ear off. Love you, Steve. So yeah, Steve is a fascinating guest that I'm delighted to bring to you on Life's Milestones. The boy can talk, so there's no need for me to. So I'm going to hand over to my interview with Steve Valentino. With me at this time is Steve Valentino, poet, wrestler, musician, comedian, and goodness knows what else. Welcome to Life's Milestones, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm keeping on, and I'm keeping myself as positive as possible right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everyone's vibe. The best you can, right?
Absolutely. That's all. That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
So, welcome to the podcast. Before we get into the birth, weddings, funerals stuff, I'm going to do a cheeky little guest profile.
Okay.
So, first up, how old are you?
I am 31 now. Yeah, 31.
My goodness, I think the last time I saw you, you were about 24.
Yep, I think that's absolutely accurate. Yeah, I think so. It might have even been younger, to be honest.
Yeah, because we knew each other way back and then ended up in different circles.
Yeah.
But we've kind of like chatted occasionally on Facebook.
Yeah, we've kept in touch.
So, where are you from and what's your background?
I'm from Birmingham, but I'm living back in Birmingham now again. My background has been, I've always been involved heavily, or at least driven by performing and the arts. And I remember, like, when I was at school, if I could have literally just done, like when I was picking my options, if I could have just done music, art and drama and nothing else, I would have absolutely just done that and been happy.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I've been always been sort of always been drawn towards the stage and somewhat maybe acted out a little bit, somewhat of an attention seeker, but we know each other through wrestling, so I mean that's pretty essential for that kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't do wrestling to be the little wallflower, do you? So it's been always been trying to find. I guess it's just been trying to find ways to express myself. Really, I'm trying and make sense of things through art. I guess that's pretty much been the constant throughout my life. Really.
That's pretty cool. So, tell me about your art. What is it that you do that makes you interesting?
Well, as with the intro, I mean, I've been. It feels slightly arrogant to say what makes me interesting, but it's also, pretty true. I like it when I go to, like, say, family parties or friends parties, and people like, they'll be like, "Oh, this is the wrestler, the comedian, wrestler, the poet, the actor guy that I told you about." And I'm like, "Yeah, that is pretty. I guess that is pretty interesting, really." So yeah, I was in my first band when I was 13. My music teacher asked me, she was like, "Steve, we've got a band. We'd like you to be in it." And I was like, I can't play any instruments, right? And she was like, "Yeah, we want you to be the singer." And I was like, "I can't sing though, right?" And she was like, "Yeah, but you've got the right attitude for it." And I was like, "Well, that's a fair way." I mean, it was a pretty good way of setting me up to, when you lower someone's expectation. Like, I was like, "Okay, cool. You don't expect too much from me. I think I can hit this low bar." And always doing drama. When I finished high school, we all wrote our little levers books and stuff that we handed around, and people wrote little messages. And funnily enough, I was looking at mine the other day, and my drama teacher had written in it, and she said, it said that I'm driven, focused, and passionate, but I'm also stubborn. What was it? Stubborn, hard to deal with, but I'd also dragged some great performances out of people. And I thought, do you know what? That's a pretty fair assessment of me when I was 16, and it's probably a pretty fair assessment of me at 31 as well, to be honest. And then from there, I started wrestling when I was 14. I started training then, and that was always a passion of mine. And that was another little point of interest for people at parties. Like, what'd you do that for? So, hard to explain. It's hard to justify your own passion when it's such a ridiculous passion, but it's definitely something that I've always loved doing.
It doesn't get easier as you get older either,
Mm.
does it? People still think it's weird.
Yeah.
And you kind of start to begin to agree with them as well, I
That's
think.
it. Yeah, you kind of. I'm very much like, yeah, no, it's very weird. I get in my little pants and I get oiled up and I roll around with another dude in front of people for money. That's weird. There's no way around it. And then it's. I think I'm better at how I handle the question much better with the awareness of it now than before, when I felt like I
True.
needed to defend it. Like, well, no, because it's an art form, because it's physical theatre. And while I stand by those things as true, that's not what anyone wants to hear. You just sort of agree with them, go, yeah, no, it is weird, and then it ends the conversation rather than it being like, yeah, rather than trying to argue with them. I'm just like, no, you are correct, and I'm aware of it, and then we move on.
So what are you actually working on at the moment?
So I first started writing poetry when I was 12. When I was 12, it was a way for me to deal with a lot of the, teenage years are difficult anyway. There was a lot of sort of turmoil in the home, and I was a very angsty little teenager. And Eminem inspired me. I was like, oh wait, I want to do that. And I actually the first time I listened to the Eminem song "Stan." My mum let me play. That was the first rap song I was allowed to play in the car. And then I realised that it was, because she always said it was the swearing that she didn't like. And I realised it wasn't. Well, she didn't like it, but if the story was good enough, if you were telling a good enough story, and the way you were telling it with enough, I guess, intelligence and enough of an artistic nature, people will listen and respond to it regardless of whether or not it's their kind of thing. And it made me realize, so maybe I can do that. And it also gave me somewhere for all these angry things to go. I wanted to be a rapper called Razor.
Nice.
Yeah, because my tongue was sharp like a razor, you see. Clever, right?
Can I call you Razor?
Yeah, I mean, if you want. I've been called much worse. So, yeah. Obviously, I spelt it incorrectly because rappers don't like to spell things right. So it was Rayza because...
Nice.
And then why? Because my tongue's sharp like a razor.
I think that spelling as well almost emphasises the Midlands pronunciation. Razor.
Razor? Yeah, oh God, yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I couldn't even escape it in my alter ego. It's great. Yeah. And so, but I carried on. I'd sort of, it was poetry, like, I guess words really are the thing I've always gone back to, and sort of writing and expressing myself through that. And currently with performances and stages and all the fun things being closed and all the things that give me some feeling of purpose in life have all been sort of kiboshed. I've now just I'm focusing on the poetry at the moment, and I'm sort of finding putting it into collections and making it sort of make a bit more sense than what it was at the moment. I have 80 plus poems that are all written at different stages of my life and different points, and now I'm finding little threads to tie them all together and put them into collections, and I'm going to be publishing them. I'm going to be releasing some online, and I've also started looking into self-publishing things, and Amazon has
Mm-hmm.
this lovely publish on demand service that I was not aware of. So now I'm going to be, I'm going to be hoping to make some moves with that. That seems the most poetry doesn't need a stage, right? And as much as I'd love to be at home wrestling someone, that's a bit weird to put on the internet unless I wanted to start an OnlyFans. So,
Well, yeah.
so I'm going to go with the poetry instead.
Right, very briefly, I realise this is completely off topic. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be talking about celebranty stuff, but there's no reason why you couldn't have an OnlyFans. It's not just girls, you know.
No, it was. I could. I mean, I could, but I think only poetry is going to do enough for me at the moment. I don't know what I'd even do. I mean, like cooking with Steve Valentino. I just don't think I have the kind of fan base that I'd want to watch that. You know.
Okay, Steve, we're going to move on and do the proper stuff rather than talking about OnlyFans and cookery. We're going to talk about birth.
Okay.
So when and where and how were you born?
So I was born on the 13th of June, 1989, in the QE, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, and I was late. So my mum's birthday is the 8th of June, and I was supposed to be born on the 4th. And I just decided I didn't want to be. I wouldn't turn around, and this all fits with the stubbornness. And it has also been an ongoing joke with my mum that even when I was told what I was supposed to do, even before I was born, I was like, no, I don't think so. So I refused to turn around so she could give birth, and I carried on. I stayed in there. I ended up being, I think I was due to be born earlier than that. I think because I was nearly 2 weeks late, and ended up being had to be born by cesarean section. And again, that's another thing. The first thing that I did to my mum was give her a scar for life. So that's
Wow.
Yeah. We have fun in our house, me and my mum. That was how I came into the world. Yeah.
Friend of mine who had a cesarean referred to it as a sunroof birth.
Nice, I like that. I'll pitch that one to my mum and see what she thinks.
Tell us a favourite story from your childhood.
Well, it made me. I was telling my housemate that I was doing this, and I was like, and I said, and I was going through the questions, and when we got to this one, we both sort of laughed because it was like, okay, because we were just my childhood was it was interesting. I had but it's hard to pick, like there was a lot of problems in our house, and sort of between parents. A lot of kids grow up that way, and I was like, well, which ones? And then I was just like, and I was trying to think which was my favorite memories as a child, and my favorite memories are actually with my grandparents, my grandma and my granddad. So my grandma and granddad had a motor caravan, a motorhome, and they used to take me away every 2 weeks. We'd go off, they'd come and pick me up, and we'd just drive somewhere, mainly like sort of around North Wales, actually Wales in general, and sort of and we'd go sort of around England, and they'd just take me to places, and we'd just camp out, and I'd just be with them. And it started when I was one. My grandma asked my mum what she wanted for her birthday, and she said she just wanted a good night's sleep. So my mum was like, my grandma was like, I think I'll take the baby. So from then on, really, we'd always go away. We'd just spend time. And one of the summers, we literally spent 3 weeks summer holidays, and we spent 3 weeks just going. I can't it's not even like anything specific, but we just went through. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I can think of one really specific, one really good bit. We just went through Wales, and we went to Sugarloaf Mountain or Sugar something like that. If anyone's Welsh listening to this, they're going to be screaming at me like, you idiot. But I just remember it being really foggy, and my grandma and my granddad, and I was only little, and we were walking up, and it was one of those moments where everyone starts to fall down, and like it was really foggy and wet, and I think it was as my granddad was telling my grandma to be careful not to slip, he slipped. Then I turned around to look at him, then I slipped, and then because my grandma was holding me, I pulled her down. And then we all just sort of slid down the hill a little bit, and it was just one of those, one of those lovely moments where I mean, I wasn't in pain, I was only a kid. I'm sure they were in quite considerable pain, but
How old were they?
Well, they were in their 60s. Late 60s.
Yeah, then they'd have been in a lot of pain.
Yeah, they would have been. I'm thinking that now, actually. Yeah, they laughed through it. They didn't let the child know that they'd broke their hips. They were good. They were actors. Maybe that's where I get it from. Maybe that's where I get the acting from.
Maybe. So, do you have kids yourself?
I don't. No. I don't have kids. I've recently had. There's been a few times when there's been. Like when I was 18, I thought I had a girlfriend who we were planning. We thought, like, she told me that she was pregnant, and we did start to plan. And then unfortunately she lost the baby.
Oh.
Well, then the worst thing about it was then it turned out later that I found out that there was never a baby.
Holy shit!
Well, yeah, and that's not and then that you'd hope that would be the last time that had happened to me, but it's not. So, it's coming up to 2 years ago. I went to Mexico and I met this woman. One thing leads to another, but then she was 10 years older than me. And she was married. I know I shouldn't have. Naughty boy. I'm aware of that. But then she told me that I'm going to actually do a whole podcast series telling the whole story of this. Because she told me she was pregnant, and she wasn't going to get rid of it, and that she wanted to keep it as a last chance to have a baby and all these things. And I thought about it for a long time, and then she was like, I don't want anything from you, and I was like, well, if my child's going to be in the world, I'm going to be in my child's life. And so I was going to move to America, and we were going to do all this. I even flew out to see her, and we'd started making all these plans. And then she also lost the baby, and so that was a very difficult, really horrifically difficult time for me. I was on the other side. It felt like the other side of the world. I felt like I was on a different planet, from her. And we carried on making these plans because we had fallen in love during this time. And then my friend spoke to her friend and just was like, how is she doing since all this happened? And it turns out that you can't get pregnant when you've had a hysterectomy.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So she'd made all of that up, and it was. I couldn't believe, when it happened. I couldn't believe that it happened again. I was like, I don't know, and if it hadn't happened to me, the story, because there's so much more to the story. There's so much more to it, and I do want to tell the story eventually, but there's so much of it that it was just insane. And so when I read that question today, I was like, oh, do I say that? I mean, I definitely haven't had kids, but there's twice that I've thought I was going to, and and the babies were never, didn't exist. So no, I haven't got kids.
Steve, that's madness. The fact that once is awful, twice is, well, mate, you have bad luck and worse luck, and it looks like you've got even worse than most. Yeah,
it was. It's tough. It was very tough. It was. But I realised that it did give me some. You know how you can choose how you look at things, really, can't you? And you can sort of you can either dwell on the negative or try and find the positive. And it took me a very long time to find a positive, but the one positive that I did find is that at every turn with the decisions I was making the decision that I genuinely believe was the right choice, and even regardless of how difficult it was going to be for me, because you never know. I think a lot of people might think good people or class themselves as good people. And I think some people are, but they might not have been tested, you know? Like, it's very easy to be a good person when you've had no real test in life of your, I was going to say morality, I guess.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I did find from this is that at the end, I went, do you know what? Every decision that I made believing it was the good and the right thing to do, regardless of how much it was going to mess my life up and regardless of how hard it was going to be. I was willing to
Yeah.
sort of overcome all the difficulties in the hope that I'd, you know, be worth it when I held the baby. But I mean, obviously that was never meant to happen.
So after all of this, do you still want kids?
Yeah, definitely. I've always, this is why it was so difficult. Like the first time, the first time it happened. Sorry,
Madness.
it's a ridiculous thing to say, isn't it? But the first time it happened, like the mistake that like I talked with her about how it had felt for me was like my dad leaving and stuff, which happened slowly over. You know, mum and dad divorced when I was 7. No, when I was 7. And then the relationship slowly deteriorated over time, and then it ended up
Mm.
just him no longer turning up. And I think part of why she made up the story was that she knew what I'd said, and what I'd always said was that I'd never want to abandon my kid, and I can't wait to be a parent, you know, because I want to be. And I think a lot of my generation have the same motivation, that we want to be the parent that we never got, you know.
Right.
I know I've seen that with a lot of my a lot of my male friends that have had similar situations to me growing up, that they work even harder to try and be the dad and the role model and try and better themselves. And yeah, I really would love to. I'd love to eventually have children. It's something that I think it's really important. I think for me anyway, it's really important for me that I build something and then I pass it on, and then what I help them grow and help them navigate through the world, because they're also difficult and it can be so hard. And I think through all the things I've been through, I've learned a lot, and I'd like to pass a lot of those things on and hopefully help provide a foundation for them to grow from. And then
Mm.
I can't imagine a more rewarding feeling, you know, than when you've done that and then you've helped raise that child, and also the love you get back. So I've got a godson who's 8, and I've been in his life since he was born. And
Mm.
when we spend time together, we sit and play, when we play, like, I mean, when we wrestle, you know, like when we sit
Of
and play,
course.
yeah, of course. And like he'll get me, and when we sit and we'll play, and then when I sit and read to him, or when and he's now reading to me, and it just feels so amazing. And it's definitely a feeling that I would like to have with my own children.
Brilliant stuff. I'm so glad that those shitty experiences haven't put you off, because for what it's worth, I think you'll be a great dad.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that. I hope so. I think I mean, I've definitely planned it a few times, so I hope I can one day plan it and it actually come to fruition. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So when you do have kids,
Yeah.
you're gonna have kids. You're gonna be a great dad.
Thanks.
So when you do have kids, do you think you'll have a naming ceremony, a christening, or any other type of ceremony to welcome your children into the world?
I think I'm not sure about a christening. I'm not sure where my sort of I'm not sure that my faith sort of lies in any one religion. I think I've studied a lot. I mean, you can always you know, you're always a student, aren't you? But there's no like sort of one religion that I'm like, that's the one for me. I think there's teachings and lessons you can take from most of them, and I'm
Mm.
not sure that I'd want to dedicate my child into something that would be that they hadn't had. You know, I feel like that's their choice.
Yeah.
But in terms of a ceremony, I think that like with the sort of rise, like say with the things that you do yourself, and the things that the kind of ceremonies that are available, I would want to do something to, like you said, like sort of like to bring them, to welcome them to the world, and have a sort of, here's who they are, they're this, and then have the sort of the parental dedication, and then the godfather godparent type thing. I don't know if it would be a I don't know if the word God needs to be in there, but the sort of guardians, people declaring that they would be guardians to my
Yeah.
child. I like that idea. I think that it's something that I would want to do. Yeah, I don't know what it would be. I have no idea what it would be, but I think it's definitely something I'd be interested in. Yeah.
And so you said you don't know what you would like it to be. Have you had any thoughts about what elements you might like to make your own within a ceremony like that?
I mean, I being being a poet and a bit of a writer and stuff. I think I'd probably write something myself. Something of a declaration to promise of my promises to the child, of what I promise to do for them, and what I promise to because I think there's something about when you in front of friends and family and you make the declaration of the man that you or at least the aims and goals that you want to try and reach as the father, and you do that in front publicly. I think there's something to be said for that, and I think there'd be something to be said for me doing that in front of people, just to reinforce and cement that that's the foundation that I'm going to build from. With this is the kind of parent I want to be, and this is what I want to do. And then
Yeah.
I'd like to do something like that. I think, yeah. Past that, I don't know.
Awesome stuff. All right, let's move on and talk about weddings. And the first question is a nice simple one. Are you married?
I'm not married, no.
Have you ever been married?
No, I haven't been married, nor engaged. I haven't made that promise to anyone, no.
But is it something that you would want in future? Do you want to get married? Do you believe in marriage?
I think when I was younger, I was very much coming from, most of my friends come from, divorced households.
Right.
And so my approach to it was, what's the point? And it doesn't mean anything. Look at it. You say the words and then you go anyway. Angry. Rah, rah, rah. But then I've seen people who have made it work. And I've seen people who... I realized that it's not... I think I had like this romantic view of what love's supposed to be. And then I also had this idea that that's unrealistic. And it's because it is unrealistic. You don't meet someone, fall in love with them, and then the rest of your life you're happy. Because you said that I love you, you love me. Sweet, cool, job done. Like, that's just not how it works. And
no.
and you sort of... I realized as I've gotten older that, I think to commit your life to someone is to say, I'm here for all the good and all the bad. Are you? And you're here for me for all the good and all the bad. Promise? You mean it? Okay, right, now we're staying, okay? And we're going to do we're going to do whatever work we have to make this work. And that's not easy, because who knows what life's going to throw at you. And I think I've come around to the idea as I've gotten older, that it is something that I would like to do. It's something because for that reason, I'd like to make that promise to that person that I'm going to stay, and that they're going to stay, and we're going to make it work. Not that I promise for the rest of our lives it'll be rose petals and it'll be clouds of love. Like, it's not that. Like, but to promise that you're going to be there through thick and thin and make those vows in front of people. I see the value. I'm still not 100% sure. I see its value when it's done with the right intentions, and so I think I would, I would like to. I'm not sure what kind of ceremony I'd want, or what kind of how I'd want it to be done in terms of like the specifics, but I think I do see its value when it's done with the right intention.
I think going back to what you said about naming ceremonies, how you'd like to write your own promises to the baby, it seems to me like you're the perfect candidate to write your own vows. And when it's done right, writing your own vows is just so gorgeous, man.
I think it would be, that's exactly what it would have to be. It would have to be something personal, something honest, and something that's specific to myself and to the person that I was, professing my love and making the promise to. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it would have to be. I mean, like, I love the idea of of being doing what you do, you know, like I'm not sure I would put the work in and the time that you've done to make it actually viable, but the idea of hosting the ceremony, but of leading the ceremony and doing that, I think I would just for someone else, it would be amazing. So for me, the idea of like say standing up in a church and some priests that I've never spoken to apart from 4 meetings, talking
Yeah.
about who this. Oh, and in the eyes of God, like no, come on, that's not for me. But having someone who was creative and did know me and did know the woman I was marrying and wrote something specifically for us, I think that would just be a beautiful day, you know, and a beautiful thing to do.
Mm.
So, and I wrote something, and she wrote something. Yeah, I think if I was going to do it, that's the way that I think I'd want it to be done. Yeah, yeah.
You know, you said hosting a wedding. You're not that far from the truth when you think about it. If you have got a couple with their own vows and you've got Uncle John reading a poem and then you've got the little kids doing a little interpretive dance, whatever you want as part of a humanist wedding, you can have it. So in a lot of ways, you are almost like a compere as a celebrant, depending on the ceremony, but you're not actually that far wrong. But I would never do it in a church. Although I would do it in a deconsecrated church.
Yes, yeah, because they are pretty buildings. They are pretty buildings.
Very true. But I think one of the true joys about my job is helping people to craft their wedding for them. And once you get it into their head that you don't have any conventions if you don't want them, that you can do that. And I think writing your own vows is the start of that. And then you kind of progress on from that to other things. Well, we could do this, we could do that. We could have Auntie Petunia singing, whatever you want, you can have, you know?
I think it's as well. It makes it because they say it's the most special day, and it's like, well, if you're just getting a cookie, you might be picking the hymns, you might be picking the readings, but if you're just getting a bit of a cookie cutter version of a wedding, you know, obviously it's still special to other people. I don't mean to talk bad of anyone who's had that kind of wedding. But I just mean for me personally, it would mean so much more to have built it. And like again, I feel like I keep saying foundation and building a lot, but it's what it is. It's building. It's forming that foundation that is uniquely yours that you build on, and you make the pledge to then, to properly build the rest of your life on. And I think it shows the investment as well. You can't when you're putting together the ceremony and you're literally forming it in whatever way you want. You can't just be like, yeah, I'll turn up in my suit. You know, you actually actively part of it, and I think you only people who are really dedicated to someone are willing to put that time in, you know. And I think I think that's why there's been a rise in it. I think as well because I've seen the popularity grow myself, and I think it comes from that. I think people have turned away from the typical. They want it to be personal. They don't want, especially in a world where, you know, you can feel so much like just a number and just another march along to your job and all that. You can have a day that's uniquely yours just for you. Well, you and your partner, and I think that's beautiful.
And that's the thing. People have always been, right, I want the exact type of Sylvanian family on the top of the fucking cake. But they're not that specific about their ceremonies.
Yeah.
And that completely befuddles me. And that's why I love my job, is I kind of nudge people. So you know the exact type of branding you want on your plates, but you don't know what you want the celebrant to say.
Yeah.
And I think almost educating people that, you know, this part is as important as what you're having for dinner.
I think it's educating them to express their love as well. I think it's people like you said, for me, it's like for me to go, oh, I'm just going to write my vows. That's like, yeah, no worries, you know, like, yeah, I'd feel pressured. I'd want to make them perfect. Well, not perfect, but I want to make them as close to perfect as I can. I want to express myself as honestly as possible, but it wouldn't, and I'd rake myself over the coals about it, but it's not a daunting process. Whereas for people, so for me to put my own personal stamp on that moment, it's like, yeah, I can do that. But I think for the for your average person who maybe doesn't feel artistic or maybe doesn't, but they can go, well, I can make this choice, and they'll put that energy into the choices, and they'll do that there. Whereas if you can hold their hand and help guide them through to take even more ownership of the day, I think I think you're helping them take it from this is a day that's special to me to, oh my God, this is our, I keep saying mine. This is our day for us, It's wicked, bro. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing you do.
The loveliest thing that ever happened with me and written vows, personalised vows, was I was talking with a couple and they said, right, give us a word limit so that we can both get an idea of what we're going to write. I said, okay, make it 500 words. They both, completely separate to each other, without awareness of the other one doing it, completely broke the rules and wrote 1,000 words.
Nice. Lovely. Yeah.
And they both broke the rules in the same way. And I was like, fucking hell, that's love.
That is really cute.
And I actually put that as part of their ceremony, is they even break the rules together, and it's just lovely,
Oh, that's really sweet, man.
I love my job.
I can tell, and I can completely understand why, man. It's wicked.
So we've got an idea of what you'd want for your perfect wedding, but all important question is, what song would you pick as your first dance? You only get to do this once.
I know. Well, here's the thing, right? I don't know that I would get to choose it, right? But I think...
True.
I think I wouldn't... So I've not got any song that I would be like, that's my song that I want to dance to. So it would have to be something specific to us. And so I'm going to take... So currently, I mean, if she listens to this, that'll be interesting. But currently I am seeing someone, and say for us, if... Like, there's a few songs that are quite special to us. So it would be one of those. And it's cheesy. It doesn't, I thought, well, this is really cheesy, but it is what it is. Like, I remember the first night that we actually spent the night together. And when you're so excited and nervous to be lying next to this person that you just have all these feelings for, and you're like, oh, and you can't sleep. And you're just like, no, I'm not going. And in my head, I was going over and over, because I feel like I have a bit of a brain radio playing quite constantly. I call it my little radio, and it's it'll play songs that even when I don't want to listen. And it just Aerosmith kept playing in my head, because we'd listened to it earlier. Just it happened to come on YouTube. And so I was trying to sleep, and I could stay awake, and I was like, shut up brain, and I kept singing this song in my head. And so and then I was like, oh, that's so cheesy, but it's also connected to, because I told her the next day. I was like, yeah. She was like, did you sleep? And I was like, not really. But then also, we watched The Greatest Showman together, and there's a song, A Million Dreams.
Oh, so lovely.
Yeah, and we've sang, because in my band I sing, she can sing, so we've sang that to it, and slow danced and stuff like that. So I mean, it'd be something, it'd be probably that, to be honest, but it'd be something along those lines. It'd be something very specific to us, regardless of how cheesy and corny the song might be, but it would be something that was rooted in our relationship.
It's your day, and you can have cheese if you want. In fact, I know a couple that they didn't really like cake, so they had their wedding cake made of cheese.
Brilliant. And that's their right, and they should do, and that's wicked. Yeah, that's really good, actually. I've got a lot of friends that would I've realised. I just thought of a few friends that would be ecstatic that there was cheese, and then there would be a massive portion that would be like, are you serious? There's no cake. So I think I'd probably have to just get a bit of both.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the final section where we talk about death, and the first one is the big one.
Yeah.
Are you scared of death?
I don't know. I don't think I'm scared of dying. So hold on. Let me. That's a different question I was answering, actually. So I'm not scared of death. I've had a few people close to me that I've lost, and the idea of death doesn't scare me. And when it comes to, am I scared of my own death? The only thing that I'm fearful of is there's so many things I want to do, and I've always wanted to do. It's the curse of having such lofty ambitions. But what does scare me is the thought of dying before I feel like I've done the things that I want to do. And as I've gotten older, the old big bucket list that I wrote when I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 16 when I wrote it, and I put different things on it. Like, so obviously there's different things on it. It's what a bucket list for. But I put different goals. So it was like before 20, before 30, and then in my lifetime. And that's changed quite drastically over the years.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I like to look at it and go, well, that's oh, I did do that one. Okay, that's good. But I hope that I get a bit more time. I wouldn't like to I'm not scared of dying. I'm just scared of feeling like I've left too much on the table. I hope that when my time comes, I can at least look and go, the time that I was lucky enough to have, I did at least something with it, you know?
That seems a pretty good way of looking at things, man. And I think you did mention that you've lost people.
Yeah.
And is there anyone that you particularly want to mention? You've experienced the death of a loved one.
Yeah, well, there's a few. So the first time that I experienced death was when I was 8, and that was my granddad. And it was at a time when mum and dad were splitting up, and things were a bit rocky. And as I said, my grandma and granddad were the real constants for me, and very much an escape route for me at times. But what that did for me when that happened, because I turned around to my grandma at 8 years old, and I was like, "Okay, grandma," she's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna start coming away with you all the time." And she was like, "Okay." She's like, "And because you need a man to be on the road with you, because I can change." Exactly. This little 8-year-old. I was like, I'll don't worry, I'll change the gas bottle for you, and I'll clean the toilet for you, because you have to take the toilet out when you're in a motor caravan.
Yeah.
And I think those were the two big ones, the two big pledges that I made for her. But that happening was one of those, I think all of us on our timelines have these points of trauma that change, it changes either for the better or for worse. And that's one of the ones that sort of made me see responsibility and see that it's important to take it. And that helped with my home life a little bit. It helped with my mum. And it made it very rocky at times, because trying to be the man of the house and stuff. But it did also mean that as we've gotten older, our relationship has become, we've gotten a lot closer. And I very much, when she's needed someone, I've been able to be there.
That's incredibly mature way of dealing with grief as an 8-year-old kid. That's incredible, really.
I think I just saw it as a gap. I think just now talking about it, then I think it was the combination of because also when my dad moved out, we joke about this, that I turned to my mum and I said, and I was like, "Who's going to do the cooking now, mum?" And then she was like, and then I actually ended up, not all the time, I wasn't an 8-year-old doing all the cooking in the house, but that's also when I started to learn how to cook and stuff as well. And so I started doing, my dad had always cooked. So my mum likes to joke about that, and we do still joke about it. But I think it was the combination of those things that I saw. I guess it was an absence of the male role model, and then me seeing that as a void to fill, I think.
Right.
Yeah, so actually that is weird to have done as an 8-year-old, isn't it?
There are more weird things to have done as an 8-year-old.
Actually, yeah, you are correct, and I definitely did some of those as well. But we don't need to talk about that. And then, as you know, like we met through wrestling. And when we met during a time when I'd stopped, and I was just sort of trying to come back So
Yes.
so originally I started training with my best friend when we were 14. We did the whole backyard wrestling thing. We, if we saw a mattress, we stole it. If we could get, and we've made a ring for ourselves. Well, I say a ring. We put the mattresses together in the garden, and we have these wonderfully embarrassing, but also absolutely brilliant videos of us in the garden. It's fantastic. We absolutely, on Christmas Eve, me and my housemate watched it, and we were just dying. We've got like promos to camera with our American accents. We've got awful wrestling gear. Well, not wrestling gear, awful costumes, terrible, like just awful. It's awful, but it's hilarious. And it's, God bless us, we're trying. And it meant the world to
Good.
us, And
Yeah.
we started training together, then we debuted together. We were a tag team. We were a tag team called the Emo Express.
Of course you were.
Yeah. So we came out to My Chemical Romance and
Even better.
yeah, Hairspray. But I used to have like 5 different scarves on. I'd make the ref wait till I took them all off, yada, yada, yada. All of those things. And then our plan was we were going to move to America and go and train. And he was doing a 3-year course at college. I was only doing 2. And then just when it was getting towards the end of his time at college, unfortunately, he took his own life, and we lost him to suicide. So, and that was it was just so out of the blue. It was such you expect no, that's rude, but you expect older people get older, and then they get a bit older, and then they're dead. That's kind of how it works. But he was 19 and I was 18, and it really rocked me. It really just took something away that I had no idea could be taken away.
Yeah.
Because at that point, so I'd lost a granddad, and that's, I understand. Dad had sort of gone, and that didn't really make sense, but he wasn't around anymore. But a lot of my friends had all gone through that same thing. It didn't make it easier, but it was a thing that happened.
Right.
But with this, it was just absolutely devastating, because I'd had my thoughts about it. I'd had time. I'd been a very depressed kid, and I'd thought about the conversation with myself about suicide wasn't one that I hadn't was new to me. I'd thought about it, but like I'd never known anyone actually do it. So
yeah,
to have that, it took a long time for me to sort of to heal those wounds, and it made wrestling it took wrestling away. It took it took a lot from me, but it also then, without those things, again, like we said, like you try and make a positive out of a negative, and obviously that's a hell of a negative. But the positive that I have found is that it's pushed me to do the things that I do, and with share and also talk. It's pushed me to talk honestly about how I feel and offer support to people with a patience that I wouldn't have had before, and also an understanding that anything can happen. Me and my little group of friends, we call it the Tommy effect. That if something's going wrong with someone, we will be there. Like anything, because we know something. We know the worst version of this. And so there's been countless times when we've had people sleeping on our sofa. When they've been down, people are always called. People will come around. They know that they can come to us, and it's something that very much shaped who I am and my outlook on things, and for the better. It made me a stronger, better person.
I think as tributes go, something practical like making sure that you look after other people so it doesn't happen again. Yeah. That's incredibly positive, Steve.
I'm pleased that we've got that. I'm pleased that that's the way. I'm glad that that's what it did. I mean, it didn't always, like it didn't. It definitely did a lot of damage, and I did definitely go off the rails for a while. I mean, I moved out, and I worked 2 summers living out in Malia in Greece with all the lads, just so I could drink every day. So it definitely sent me off the rails to a place I didn't need to be. But the overall result is that there's a lot more openness in our circle of friends. There's a lot more support we offer than I think a lot of guys get. I mean, there's countless times when friends of mine have brought friends of theirs to me, so we can sit down and talk, because I've just spent so much time trying to understand it and trying to understand what takes someone there, and then also working on ways to take yourself out of those places. And to have found those things, and at least it's like you said, it's at least a tribute or some form of positive to take from it, you know.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on and talk about your funeral now.
Yeah.
And have you decided whether you want to be buried or cremated?
Part of me wants to be cremated so that I can be taken around and moved around, and you know, you can take me with you when you move to somewhere else. But then it's a thing for someone to be faffing and worrying about and looking after. But then it's the same. But if you get buried, then you've got a headstone to be looking after as well. So I think I'd like to be buried. I think because I think that's what's supposed to happen. You go back into the earth. But if I got cremated, I'd like to be scattered somewhere. I want to go back. I think I want to go back into the earth. I think that's the cycle. I think that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know. I think cremated, but I haven't got a place where I want to be scattered yet. But I think I'd like to be cremated.
So it seems to me like, at the moment, the only two legal options are, in Britain at least, cremation and burial. But there is talk about things like planting a tree and using someone's body as almost like a fertilizer. You build the tree around the buried body. Is that something that would perhaps be more along your vibe?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Go and see Valentino's tree. Yeah, I like that.
Steve Valentino.
Valentino, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, not let's do it yet. Not yet. But eventually, when I've done all the things on my bucket list, then we can do it. Yeah.
You've got another 40 or 50 years yet, mate.
I hope so. I've cleaned up the way I was living, so I think with the plan is to make it at least another 40, 50 years, at least another 50 years. So I hope.
Brilliant.
I hope so, yeah.
So maybe person trees will be a thing by the time you have to worry about this.
Yes, yeah, and then I can maybe get some artwork done on it. Yeah, I like it. I'm already seeing it coming to life now. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you know, it's a weird thing to say. I do a lot of research on death, and there's some weird and wonderful environmental alternatives that are kind of being looked at and experimented on and proposed. So this question might be a lot more complex in 30, 40, 50 years.
What's some of your favourites then that you've seen? Like, what's some of the other options that are available?
There's another one I liked that was water cremation.
Oh.
It's less harmful to the environment, but does the same effect as a cremation by fire. And then you still get the ashes, because if you didn't know, ashes are actually flailed human bones, nothing to do with the fire.
Huh.
So it's done that way. The other one I like is the nice, old, simple, donate your body to science.
Actually, yeah, because I was thinking, because I'm definitely going to be an organ donor if they'll take them, and so like, because I feel once I'm done, definitely do the most you can with my body. So yeah, actually, maybe science. I'd like it. Once I'm gone, and I'd rather I might as well be used for something good. I think I'd probably put some caveat onto the kind of science it goes towards. I don't know what, but like, you know, I don't want to be. I'm just trying to think some of the things I don't want them to do. I don't know, but I think maybe donating my body to science. Yeah, that sounds good actually.
So, have you thought about what reading you might like to be read at your funeral?
Well, like as we said all the way, throughout, like the sort of the personal touch is what I'd want. And I'm lucky enough to have some great writers around me, and also just my family. I'd want something personal. I think I'd want it. I'd want the ceremony to be personal. I'd want the readings to be personal. So I'd want someone to just, to write about, about me and their relationship. So when my grandma died, I wrote the eulogy for that, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever written. And it was even harder to say. But
of course,
it was something I was proud of, and I was proud that I got to do it. And everyone's afterwards came up to me and just said how much it meant to hear me say it. I didn't do a prayer. I said, can everyone just bow their heads? And I don't believe personally. I mean, I was in church as well. I was like, personally, I don't believe in God, but I do believe in my grandma, and I'd like you all just to cast your mind to her and think of just your favorite memory with her and see her and live that memory right now.
That's lovely.
And I believe that as long as you keep someone's memory alive, you keep as long as you keep. No, I can't remember. It's something along the lines of, as long as you keeping their memory alive keeps them alive in your heart or something like that. And I do believe that. I believe that you keep people alive by talking about them and never forgetting them. And I think it's special to do that. So, I hope someone can write something like that for me. That's what I hope.
Brilliant stuff. I think there's very much almost like a balance of make sure in your life you do things that make a difference to other people, that means that your memories stay alive and you live on beyond your death. And if that isn't humanism in a couple of sentences, I don't know what is.
Yeah, you'll have to send me some stuff, man. I'd like to learn more. I'd like to learn more about like just the humanist practices and stuff. It sounds very interesting, mate.
Well, I mean, the very brief thing I tend to say is atheism tells you what I'm not. Humanism tells you what I am. And that's the important difference. There is a cheeky little "Am I Humanist?" test on the Humanists UK website.
Right.
It's a little bit hokey, but I did get 100% humanist, but I would. I'll send you the link and I'll put it out on my Twitter as well for this.
I think it's important that, like there's so many things that people have, so many rises of certain isms. So even in my lifetime, and then like sort of studying the arts like for as long as I have and stuff, there's been so many isms that have risen, and a lot of them, when you break them down, it's not that what they are anything, it's that they are telling you what they're not by other definitions of what they think they're supposed to be.
Exactly. This is a good ism, and it tells you what I am.
That's what I think people are missing, because to sit there and be like, well, I'm not this, I'm not this. Yeah, cool, but what are you though? So you can say that, and that's a fine place to start. You can go, I know what I'm not. Like if you're making your list of things that you want from a job. You sit there and go, well, I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. I don't want that, and that's fine. But then you go, but what do you want?
Yeah,
and I think that sounds good, man.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of philosophy I'm coming from. But I want to know from you, what music tracks do you want for your entrance, reflection, and exit parts of your funeral?
It's hard not to, I can't help but think of slightly funny things, right? So that's what I was thinking, and I was like, what would I do them?
You'd be surprised how many of the funerals that I have done have had quite strong elements of humour, and the argument is they were funny in life.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they be funny in death?
I mean, I feel like I'd almost want my entrance music, like for like the problem is it starts with "Never fear, your captain's here," and I think
brilliant.
And I feel like that would be, I don't know if that should be at the start or at the end, or probably even the reflection. I mean, I think it works in all levels.
What song is it?
It's by my band actually. I'll send it to you. So it's called Anglo. We've got a video. It's literally, if you type in the Jacks Anglo on YouTube, you can see the video. It's pretty cool, man. It's a dope video. Starts with a lovely drone shot over Birmingham. It's pretty wicked, man. But the wrestling version, it's "Never fear, your captain's here," and
Brilliant.
then swinging drums, and then Valentino, and I feel like, especially if something happens to me in the next few days, that's what it's got to be. But
the thing is, right? We've just talked about how things should be personalised. You have your own theme. What a brilliant thing to use. You wrote it, you performed it, and you entered in wrestling to it.
Yeah.
Why the hell wouldn't you have that as part of your funeral?
I think it would set the tone as well. I think everyone would go, of course of course he picked this. Was this his dying wish, was it? But I mean, if it's my funeral, it's definitely the day that I can guilt-free make it all about me. It's just annoying I don't get to see it, you know what I mean? But then, okay, so let's see. Reflection, I don't know. I can't think of a piece of music. I don't know. I really don't. I'm struggling for that one. But there's a song. I think probably, maybe. I mean, possibly. So there's two Flogging Molly songs, right? So Flogging Molly are kind of Irish. Let's say Irish inspired. They are Irish, but the
Right.
music's sort of like Irish rock, kind of punk influenced as well. And there's a song. Well, that was also my entrance music once. Oh God. Oh no, of course no. Sorry, the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That could be on the way in or the way out. I don't know.
Some nice MCR. Get that in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I'm so emo, Mark. Like, I still sometimes I get really happy and then I'm sad because I realise that I wasn't happy before and this is what happiness feels like, and then I'm back to being sad again. So I'm a true emo, you know. Like, I'm an emo and a poet. I'm quite happy sitting in a graveyard writing poetry. I just need
Wow.
a raven. But yeah, so I'd absolutely. God, I couldn't not have the Black Parade. Yeah, no, yeah, no, it would
Brilliant.
be. Yeah, it'd be. Do you know what? There could be any of the ones on that. I'd let my let whoever's planning it take a pick from that album, but probably just the Welcome to the Black Parade, just for that start of the. I'm sure it's the C. I think it's the C note that starts it, and just hit it once, and everyone would just be like, "Oh, fuck off, Steve! Really, really." No. And then my wrestling music later on. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll walk into the Black Parade and we'll leave to my entrance music. That's what we'll do. That sets the
Brilliant.
tone perfectly. Yeah. That's what I want.
Brilliant. And I love that when people are confident enough to do that for their funerals. It's such a outdated idea that you have to have funerals be sad.
Yeah. I want my music, Mark. I want it to be my songs.
Yes. Yeah. My Chemical Romance. Good stuff.
Yeah. Even that's My Chemical, you know. So I've got the word mine here somewhere.
So, Steve, it has been a joy. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I've really enjoyed it, mate. It's been really great to talk to you. It really has. I can't believe how long it's been, but it's been really good fun, mate. It feels like we're just back in the car.
I know. Where can people find you on the internet?
Right. So I'm on Twitter. I don't really use it, but I do hold a space there. I'm on Twitter as Steve Valentino. I'm on Instagram as @Steve Valentino, and I'm on Facebook as Steve Valentino. I got them all.
Good.
Yeah. So come and say hello. I do post regularly. I've got a new project that do you mind if I plug that now, Mark? Is that all right?
Go for it.
Right, sweet. Yeah. So if you come and follow me on Facebook, I've got a new project that I'm working on at the moment. So a friend of mine, she last summer she started teaching a young man named Joel who's in Nigeria. He posted on this group asking if anyone would be willing to give their time up and help teach him violin, because his dream is to learn to play the violin. And there was like 40 comments, all pledging their time, all saying, "Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, this would be so great. Yeah, of course I will." And then she saw it, and she was quite late, obviously 40 comments later, and she messaged him just saying, and she commented just saying, "Yeah, I would as well." And he messaged her, and so it turns out he'd messaged like numerous people who'd all publicly promised that they were going to pledge their time, and turns out none of them could do it, or they ignored. Most of them didn't even reply to him, and it's just like, I mean, isn't that just tells you all about the world at the moment? Everything's for show, and when they actually came down to can you give an hour a week of your time to help this young man achieve his dream? No, I can't.
Yeah.
So she started teaching him, and he started making great progress. He's doing all the work. She even said like he's one of the hardest working students because he's actually putting in the work and the time in between, and it was great, and he was doing really well. But then his violin broke, and
oh no.
Yeah, and so we've got some videos as well that we're going to put up, because he's actually he's got this big abscess in his leg, and so like he can't actually walk, and like so he can't, not only can he not walk, he can't even play his violin, which was like one of his little moments of solace and escape from all the stuff that he's in, and he can't afford to get it fixed. So we were
Right.
talking, and I was just like, well, I mean, how much would it cost? And we started to price up how much it would cost to get him a new violin. And we
Mm.
were like, I think we could raise this money. So what we've decided to do, because she's classically trained, she's a violinist, and you know, I'm a bit of a singer, more of a shouter, but I do my best with my band and so you know, we decided, why don't we just put together a little thing of a little fundraiser? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a live gig on Facebook with my band. Well, not my band, but my housemate, because we all live on the same floor in our building. So it's like our little bubble has been our little flats, which has been an absolute godsend because we've been like having little jams together and stuff, and it's been really wonderful.
Mm.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do an hour gig where we're going to do some of the Jack's originals, but in acoustic versions with accompaniment on from Roxana and from our friend Andrea, who they're going to bring the violin and the cello into it. So we're going to have a whole new different sound for some of our songs. We're going to do a few little covers as well, and then they've prepared a few classical pieces that they're going to be performing. And the whole idea is that we're going to be, you know, during the gig, we're not announcing the date just yet because it's a little further away, but it will
Mm.
be in March, and we're going to be doing the live gig, and we're going to be setting it up so people can donate and help us get to our goal. And we're announcing the goal. We're going to be announcing the goal I think we're doing it this Sunday, actually. I think so. I don't know. You know, we're announcing the goal soon, and so
Yeah.
people are going to be able to donate and help us try and keep, try and help him pay for the violin. But we're also going to hopefully the aim is to be able to buy a few more instruments for other kids like him in his village, so that they can start on their path to trying to achieve their dream as well. And it's called the Spirit of the Music because the idea is that we're hoping to keep the spirit of the music alive with donations and with help. So that's what we're trying to do.
Steve, that's fantastic. Get on Spirit of the Music on Facebook if that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for letting me talk about it, and thank you for. I've just had a great time, mate. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you've made me more brummy. I can hear myself talking to you. It's brought out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I know. Oh well.
Well, thanks, our kid.
All right, mate.
Ta-ra a bit.
Thanks, Bab. Lovely to talk to you, mate.
I'd just like to say one more time, thank you so much to Steve for his time and his stories that he shared on Life's Milestones. Now, when it comes to Spirit of the Music, I'm going to be going to that gig. I'm fascinated by the idea of a indie band being accompanied by a violinist. But that's to some extent because I've always quite liked experimental music. But beyond that, you can't argue with the cause. What a brilliant thing that Steve is doing. For more updates, please do check out at Spirit of the Music on Facebook. There have been some more updates since I recorded with Steve, so go and check that out. Find out when the gig is happening and check out their update vids for that. To be honest, I'm also going to be putting a lot of Steve's stuff regarding Spirit of the Music on the Life's Milestones Twitter as well, because it is something that I personally want to support, because what a brilliant thing it is. And that's it for this time on Life's Milestones. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in a fortnight. Life's Milestones is a podcast on the We Made This podcast network. The show's host is me, Mark Adams. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MarkAdamsHC. You can also find me on Facebook. Just search for Mark Adams Humanist Celebrant. My website is humanist.org.uk/Mark Adams. Regular listeners to the podcast can claim a 10% discount on my fees for a naming ceremony or wedding. Just make sure you quote Milestones when you get in touch. The theme tune for Life's Milestones is performed by Zach Reagan, and the logo was created by Carl Bryan. Follow the show on Twitter at Life's Milestones. Thank you for listening.
everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you just listened to, or maybe you're just about to listen to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling. Elsewhere on We Made This. Between the Notes.
So we've got another Netflix series and accompanying score, The Queen's Gambit by Carlos Rafael Rivera. Did you watch this over Christmas? Did you see it?
Well, funnily enough, I had, at the start of last week, I had 2 days where I was working from home before I was going into a whole new job. And because I thought I was going to be working from home a lot more than I am, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to watch The Queen's Gambit in one day.
Blimey.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I watched all 7 episodes of The Queen's Gambit in one morning and afternoon. So yes, I have seen it.
And it's sublime, isn't it? It's a really, really good. So I'm saying that. I'm assuming. Did you think that as well? Like...
No. I thought it was incredible. Sorry. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
So with my track record, have you worked out where I'm going with this?
I have now, yeah.
Would it feel different if you had a wank?
Probably.
But the thing is, as well, it might be different. It might be different even with the left-hander and the left-hander, though.
True.
Different pace. It's different pace.
Yeah, and also, it's a different cock. I hadn't thought of that.
Speaking of that, Chris Barry looks down. Well, Rimmer looks down, doesn't he? At some point.
Yes, he does.
We dig music.
I am amazed this made top 10.
Oh, I'm not. It's really good.
I really am.
I do not remember what this
Exactly.
is like at all. My only comment when I was actually listening to it is bit nothingy.
I think it's really good, although it does suspiciously sound a lot like Sting's Shape of My Heart.
What?
It really does. The guitar melody is very much like it. It's got
Fuck you.
beautiful guitar and vocal.
Fuck you, Ian.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.